War is chaos, a symphony of destruction, a cacophony of noise. It's a maelstrom of events unfolding at breakneck speed where clarity is often the first casualty. Fear. It grips the heart, clouds the mind, and dictates actions. It's a primal instinct, amplified by the horrors of combat, and split-second decisions where survival is never guaranteed. Every choice carries immense weight, a gamble with life and death hanging in the balance. The fog of war obscures the path forward. Soldiers train relentlessly to face the enemy, honing their skills, sharpening their reflexes, and preparing for the ultimate test. But what if the deadliest threat doesn't wear the enemy's uniform? What if the greatest danger comes not from across the battlefield, but from your own side? This is the tragedy of friendly fire, a devastating consequence of the fog of war and the fallibility of human judgment. It shatters trust, eroding the bonds that hold units together and leaving deep scars on the psyche of those involved. Turning allies into accidental enemies, creating a nightmare scenario where the line between friend and foe blurs with tragic consequences. The story of the Royal Fleet auxiliary ship Sir Galahad, a vessel meant to support and supply during the Falklands War, is a haunting example of this very phenomenon, a stark reminder of the ever-present risk. In 1982, brave men waiting to fight, eager to defend their country and uphold their duty, were instead caught in a catastrophic crossfire, victims of a system failure, a tragic miscalculation that cost lives and left a nation in mourning. The bombing of the Sir Galahad is a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of errors in judgment. In war, the greatest danger can come from within, a chilling truth that underscores the importance of vigilance, communication, and unwavering trust. In 1982, the Falkland Islands became the center of a bitter conflict between Britain and Argentina. Argentina invaded, and Britain responded with a massive naval task force, determined to reclaim the islands. The British landed at San Carlos, facing fierce resistance from Argentine pilots. Every move was shadowed by the threat of air attack. As the final push toward the capital, Stanley began, 2 landing ships, Sir Galahad and Sir Tristram, were sent to Bluff Cove with Welsh guards. Delays and miscommunication left the ships dangerously exposed in open water. The stage was set for disaster. Sir Galahad was a floating ferry, packed with young Welsh guards eager to join the fight. But confusion and poor communication delayed their landing. The ship sat in daylight, a perfect target, with no guaranteed air cover. Soldiers waited anxiously, aware of the danger as the hours dragged on. Orders were muddled, and commanders disagreed, leaving the ship vulnerable. The disconnect between land and sea created a fatal window. The men aboard were sitting ducks, their fate sealed by a breakdown in command. Argentine pilots, searching for targets, soon found one. The attack, launched with the full force of British air power, was intended to cripple enemy supply lines. Harrier jets screamed across the sky, their payloads aimed at what pilots believed were legitimate targets. The initial strikes were swift and devastating, sending plumes of smoke and fire erupting from the targeted vessels. The sea around them churned with the force of the explosions, but amidst the fog of war, a catastrophic error unfolded. In the chaos and confusion of battle, British Harrier pilots, relying on flawed intelligence and obscured visibility, tragically mistook the ships for enemy vessels. They pressed home their attack, unleashing a second wave of ordnance, unaware of the horrifying mistake they were making. Bombs tore through Sir Galahad, ripping through her decks and internal compartments with brutal efficiency. The explosions ignited fuel and ammunition stores, setting off a chain reaction of destruction that rapidly engulfed the ship. The RFA Sir Galahad was quickly turning the ship into an inferno, a blazing testament to the deadly consequences of friendly fire. Desperate soldiers, caught in the heart of the inferno, leapt into the freezing waters of the South Atlantic to escape the flames that threatened to consume them. Amidst the burning wreckage and the cries of the wounded, chaos and heroism unfolded side by side, as men fought for their survival and the survival of their comrades. Rescuers, braving the intense heat and the risk of further explosions, rushed in, pulling exhausted and injured survivors from the sea. On nearby vessels and on the shore, military medics worked tirelessly, treating horrific burns and other injuries sustained in the attack. In the end, 48 British servicemen died in the devastating attack, and over 150 more were wounded, many with life-altering injuries that would stay with them forever. It was the deadliest single day for Britain in the entire Falklands conflict, a day etched in the nation's memory. The tragedy was compounded by the horrific realization that these men were killed not by the enemy, but by their own side. They were victims of a fatal error, a devastating case of friendly fire that shook the British military to its core. The immediate aftermath was marked by widespread confusion and disbelief. The news of the friendly fire incident sent shockwaves through the ranks, and it triggered a desperate search for answers, as military investigators scrambled to understand how such a catastrophic mistake could have occurred. The full truth, shrouded in the complexities of war and the fog of misinformation, would take time to emerge, and its revelations would be painful. In the aftermath of the Sir Galahad disaster, the search for answers began. At first, the official story pointed the finger squarely at Argentine air raids, suggesting they were solely responsible for the devastating loss. But beneath the surface of the official narrative, whispers and rumors of friendly fire persisted, casting a long shadow of doubt and suspicion over the events. These rumors suggested a far more complex and troubling reality. Survivors like Simon Weston, who endured unimaginable suffering, bravely shared their stories, offering first-hand accounts of the chaos and confusion. Their testimonies painted a vivid picture, revealing the true horror and utter confusion of that day, a stark contrast to the sanitized version presented by official channels. The Sir Galahad tragedy, a painful reminder of the unpredictable nature of conflict, was not unique. It echoed similar incidents throughout history. Modern wars in Afghanistan, with their complex terrains and shifting alliances, and Iraq saw similar mistakes, highlighting the persistent challenges of distinguishing friend from foe, even with advanced technology at our disposal. In response to these recurring incidents, identification systems have been significantly improved, and stricter rules of engagement have been implemented. But despite these advancements, the inherent risk of friendly fire remains a constant concern. War, at its core, is a human endeavor, fraught with uncertainty and dependent on split-second decisions, and therefore, human error is always a lurking threat, ready to strike at any moment. The story of Sir Galahad serves as a somber lesson, a stark reminder that in the chaos of battle, even allies, those fighting alongside you, can tragically become accidental enemies with devastating consequences. No amount of technology, no matter how sophisticated, can fully erase the fog of war, the inherent confusion and uncertainty that permeates every battlefield. The scars, physical, etched onto the skin as painful reminders, and psychological, buried deep within the mind, endure for a lifetime, a constant burden for those who have experienced the horrors of war. In the heat of battle, the enemy isn't always who you expect. The threat doesn't always come from the opposing side. Sometimes, the deadliest mistake, the most devastating blow, comes from within your own ranks, a tragic consequence of the fog of war